good afternoon. I know we are all at home and staying healthy and safe, and we definitely appreciate you doing that. I just wanted to still be able to celebrate World Water Day with you all. Does anybody know when World Water Day was? Sunday? Yes, you are correct. World Water Day is March 22nd, so it was this past Sunday. Today, what I want to do is read a little something for you, but also we're going to get outside too fairly shortly and explore a little bit. And these are things that you can do in your own backyard. And in Bolton, you can probably walk a few hundred feet, maybe less than a mile, before you reach an area you can explore. So still practicing that social distancing, but making sure you're getting out, exploring, and getting some nice fresh air. All right, so now that we're ready, we're gonna take a walk down into the trails. Today, we're on the Von Hills Mowens property, and I'll meet you guys down by the wetland. One thing I do wanna say when we get down there is I do have a freshwater wetlands ID book with me. This is available on the MACC, Massachusetts Association of Conservation Commissions. For your parents, if you would like to get one of these books to just explore in your backyard and be able to ID, they have some nice pictures as well. And it really ranges from beginner to intermediate as far as identification. So I will see you down by the wetlands. Hello again. We are now in the wetland, and we're gonna point out a couple different things that you can find a couple hundred feet, like I said, or just under a mile probably from your house where you are right now, if you're in Bolton. If you're not in Bolton, there are probably areas as well, maybe a little bit further away from your home, that have these same characteristics. I do want to say, while I was walking down here off the trail there, and again, we do ask that people stay on the trails on conservation properties, but again, these are areas potentially in your own backyard, and you don't have to be in the midst of our conservation areas to find it, but you are certainly allowed to explore the areas. But something I did want to share as I was coming off the trail is I finally was able to see an American woodcock, which I have not seen yet, and it was exciting because they're one of my favorite birds. So I can now check that off my seen in local areas list. And from when I started working here in Bolton about just over 3 years ago, I started that list of things that I had heard people had seen, or things that I had seen photos of but hadn't seen one myself with my own eyes. So I encourage you to start a list like that yourself, and as you're out on these conservation properties, or again even in your backyard, you may come across these species, whether it be vegetation or wildlife. Just check it off as you go. It's a little chilly today, so I apologize. I am panting a little bit, especially after a bit of a walk, but we'll start IDing now, so pay close attention. You'll notice this area here is low-lying compared to the area behind us. We are currently within a wetland. We have a mixture of vegetation, from some smaller vegetation you can see there, to these things poking up all over the place seemingly. So here we have one that's a little bit more mature. What do you think that is? I'll tell you what, when it's big, it gets leafy, and if you've tried to pick it for a salad, it stinks like a skunk. It may look like something you had on St. Patrick's Day when it's grown and it's leafed out. It's very tall. What's that? Let's check our book here. Do you think that's it? So here's our skunk cabbage. Grows in swamps or shrub swamps or wet woods, which we are clearly in. It's a stemless plant. It grows up to 2.5 feet tall. Again, like I said, its leaves are very tall. It grows in scattered groups. And they consist of several large, broad leaves having the odor of skunk. Flowers crowded in a fleshy spike, loosely enveloped in an ovoid sheath. So let's take a peek. So in there, we have the oval shape with the flower inside, right? Got a couple of them. It's clearly no stem there. Rather no true stem. It's growing in a group. Something interesting about skunk cabbage is it's one of the first to come up in spring. We had our first day of spring last week. These were actually popping up even earlier than that. You can see over here the leaves are starting to come out, those thick broad leaves. And now when we look at them all. How many can you see? Count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oop. Then we have 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. We have a bunch of little ones coming up over there. So there's quite a few. I would say we've identified our plant. Wouldn't you? So before we use our book and identify our next plant, I'll tell you a little bit about what I do. Also, my name is Rebecca Longvall. I'm the Conservation Administrator for the town of Bolton. I not only work to protect our natural resources, but I work for the Conservation Commission as well, whose job is to promote and develop the natural resources, and develop meaning enhance or restore natural resources. Also protect the watershed resource areas. So currently we are standing in the Nashua watershed. Bolton is split into 2 watersheds. The other is the Suasco, which is Sudbury, Assabet, and Concord River. So we're lucky enough to be a part of both. Recently, we achieved a very important designation. Does anybody know what that was? Tell you what, it has to do with a river. I just told you what watershed we're in. So you think it has something to do with that river? So we, along with 11 other towns, just received last year designation of the Nashua as a wild and scenic river, meaning we have a federal designation within the town. That's huge, not only designating the natural resource area itself, but also in order to maintain and ensure that that area stays protected, it allows us more funding options to continue that process when they become available. They also look for volunteers often, so if you're ever looking for a place to paddle a kayak or a canoe, or to just help clean up, the Nashua River Watershed Association is always looking for volunteers. Something else about our rivers, and the reason why I bring it up, is because currently, and I'll show you to the front of me as well, although I'm standing in a wetland resource area, it's a bordering vegetated wetland, meaning it's bordering on a body of water that connects to a water of the US. And I know you may be sitting there thinking, what the heck? So I'll show you in a moment. We have a perennial stream running through here that feeds and gives water to all these plants. So we just showed the skunk cabbage. We talked about some of the shrubs here as well. We talked about how I just saw an American woodcock here. They all depend on that resource area to thrive and support their habitat. So in just a second, I'm going to turn the camera and show you the perennial stream. So our stream continues further into, comes from further into the property, continues down and around and through to where we were before. And it feeds this awesome wetland resource area. And this wetland also acts as a drainage area. So where do you think the water is coming from? We said one source, right? The stream feeds the wetland. But where else do you think? Over there? Maybe the water will come down the slope and into the wetland. I would say that's a good plan and a good thought. That's certainly true. So here I want you to take a good look at this. Okay? Then I'm going to back up. This is also in our wetland. I'll give you a hint. It's a fern, which I know it's a little hard to tell from its winter state. What kind of fern do you think that is? We'll check our book. It's a sensitive fern. So, although we can't see the blades and the fronds associated with it, well, excuse me, we can see the fertile fronds with hard berry-like structures and a spike above the middle of the stem. That's what's persisting here. And it's a leaf segment which have become rolled into small, hard black, berry-like structures from July through August, and they persist over winter. So that's what we're seeing here. Something that also persists over winter is cinnamon fern, which is at times in close proximity to sensitive fern. So we've moved a little further upstream here. You can see we have some fully submerged species, some grasses, another broadleaf over there, and over here we have these little clusters of leaves. Try and give you a close-up. And as you can see, they're starting to bud, right? Nice big leaf. And with the flower bud as well. So what do we think those are? Give you a hint, it has a vibrant yellow flower when it finally does flower. What we have is a marsh marigold. It is not a cowslip, as the cowslips have larger leaves. Marsh marigold, we're in a wet wooded shrub swamp. We have the buds for the flowers. Leaves 4 inches wide. It's just coming up now, so it'll take a while. One thing to remember as you're looking at plants this early in spring, they haven't fully grown yet, and they haven't fully flowered, or excuse me, bloomed at this point. So when you revisit areas, you can really tell And maybe you've been walking along this trail and you remember seeing yellow towards the water that around this area. That gives you some nice hints and clues as to what's in this area as you're looking early in the season. If you're not familiar with the plant, come back in a couple weeks and see what it's grown into. And that's how you can strengthen your identification skills as well. Thank you to everyone who joined us this afternoon. I hope you're all out getting some fresh air after this and using those identification skills. Definitely look around, look at the colors. Skunk cabbage is a little purple. We see a lot of green vegetation, so these unique colors are really special and interesting when you're identifying different species. Pay attention to the wildlife that's within these areas as well. It's not only the vegetation we pay attention to, we pay attention to the soils, the wildlife that's using them, whether it be small amphibians like salamanders, they should be out moving around right now, wood frogs, woodcocks like I saw, so some upland birds. We also have a lot of chickadees out right now. I don't know if you can hear it. I'll pause and be quiet for a minute. And of course they stop. But even get outside in your backyard. I know we're all stuck at home and we appreciate you following those suggestions and rules. But also, don't forget to get some fresh air and explore. You can call my office. I'm available by email as well. Even if you just found something interesting, that's something I love. I have a few residents that have trail cams, and they'll send me first thing Monday morning something interesting if it's passed through their yard. If you found some interesting vegetation as well, especially in a wetland, please send it to me. We do have some properties that have unique vegetation on them, and I'm happy that people observe these areas as well. Like I said, keep exploring, get out in your backyard, go for a walk, stay away from each other 6 feet at least. And water is important, not only for our habitats. We've certainly seen it a lot as we're all cleaning things. I'm sure you've seen your parents cleaning. But my job is to protect these wonderful natural resources and the wildlife and their habitat. So, thank you again for joining us this afternoon. And I hope to see you once this all irons out. Keep exploring, guys.